Okay. All right. Well, it is 11 Central Time. I don't know where everybody is, but we will go ahead and get started on our AI webinar for today. This is a series, so this is part one of a four-part webinar, and we're going to talk about AI for you today and what's the truth behind AI, some tools and tactics regarding AI, and how we can help you. I am Bree Finnegan. I am a consultant for the advisory services practice over at The Groove. I have been in the Workday ecosystem since 2018. I'm joined here by my partner, Michael.
Hi, Michael Marina. I'm the director of our advisory services, and my first project with Workday was in 2013.
Awesome. All right. So, what are we going to talk about today? There is a lot to talk about when it comes to AI. That's why we have four of these webinars. But we're just going to start with AI in the real world. What is it? It's kind of come on very strong and very fast. So there are definitely some misconceptions, fears, myths surrounding it, and we want to talk a little bit about those. And then let's dive into AI in the workplace. What are some of those tools that we're seeing emerge to assist employees and organizations in the workplace? And one of those being Workday Illuminate. This is an engagement webinar, so we are going to ask you to take a little test or survey, which is our AI readiness assessment, and we'll have those questions for you. You'll answer them today, and then we'll talk a little bit about those survey results, and we'll get into how the Groove can assist you in your AI journey within your organizations and at your workplace. Um, and then questions. We do have a chat feature for you. So please feel free to drop questions in the chat. We've got a couple people that are with us today that are going to help us monitor that chat. And at the end of the session, if we have time, if time allows, we will we'll make sure that we've gone through all those questions and we can have a Q&A portion. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. AI in the real world. We're going to talk about, the basics. What exactly is AI? So AI, or artificial intelligence, is referring to machines or, software that actually simulate human intelligence. This includes a couple of things like, capabilities from learning from data. It's making predictions. It could generate content. AI really recognizes patterns rather than just following a formula. And most of us actually are already using AI, and maybe without even realizing it. So I think one of the first forms of AI might have been autocorrection on your phone. You're typing something, and your phone, guides you to a different word that you might have been trying to spell. Another one that I think is personally helpful for me are recommendation engines. So if anybody's ever, streamed a show on Netflix or maybe HBO Max or Prime, and then afterwards you see a bunch of little recommendations for you, it always helps me because there are so many different options out there. Um, that recommendation engine is actually a form or tool of AI pushing content your way that it thinks you're going to like based on some of the things that you've already seen. And then, of course, we've got those voice assistants that have been around for a while too, like Siri or Alexa. I always ask Alexa if it's going to rain or the weather every morning, and they really have that human, interaction, or they can even hold those conversations with you. So those are some of the ways that we're already using AI, maybe without even realizing it. But if we think about AI in the workplace, there are tools that are emerging that can help us automate those routine tasks. They can help us, surface insights for maybe better decision making, or even a personalized employee experiences, which Michael's going to talk about here in a moment. But it is important to keep in mind that AI isn't a robot that's replacing people. It is a system, it works off an algorithm that's going to enhance human ability by handling some of those repetitive, maybe a data heavy task, to free us up for deeper thinking and innovation. So, with kind of all of that buzz in AI and how fast it's kind of come and emerged itself, or presented itself, it's normal that AI is going to raise some concerns and some myths. So, we did want to spend a couple minutes today to talk about a couple of those common fears, starting with one of the most common fears we hear, which is AI will take our jobs, right?
Well, in full disclosure, Bree and I are not real. We are simulations. No, the reality is, if you tap deeper into this article, I think from the Washington Post last month, is companies are using AI and they're mandating it. We're going to do this, and we're going to reduce head count because the cycle times are going to go. And if you just read what Meta and all these companies are doing, making promises, and as you'll see, a lot of this has yet to be proved adding value in some of these instances. But the key thing is that article pointed out is that do they have rules for using AI? They're just saying, do it. We're going to use AI and it's going to be better. And we're going to reduce costs. The question is, a lot of people are cautious, rightly so, is like, where shall I get this information from?
Hmm.
Am I breaching corporate policy? Is this information accurate? Am I providing information that could be wrong? A lot of risks and things like that. And the good news we will talk about in a moment, there have those safeguards that Workday is building into their products. Also, in the Gallup survey, only about 30% say they have guidelines and policies for AR. So all very kind of scary stuff just to go in because everybody's doing it. Let's jump off this AI bridge and hopefully something will catch us before we make a mistake. So
Hmm.
that's just a really interesting point there, that people are using it recklessly because everybody else is using AI. We should too.
Right, right. Definitely a big fear that we're seeing. And while it's important to kind of remember, while I think AI might and maybe in some cases already have changed the way that we work, studies are showing that the roles are really evolving with AI. They're not disappearing. AI is better at tasks than it is at jobs. It assists, it's not replacing. We're also seeing, another fear is that AI is maybe something that we can't trust. There is a concern around transparency and a bias. AI is maybe making decisions, or we're allowing it to make decisions, but can we explain how it made that decision? Who trained it and what data did they use to get to that decision? We're also seeing maybe that people feel that they're not, savvy enough to use AI. They're not tech savvy enough, and people fear that they won't be able to keep up. But if we take a look at another one of, Gallup's research, we're seeing that people already are using AI in the workforce, and they're using it at a rapid pace. So whether it's that they're using it, a couple times a year, a weekly, maybe it's on a daily basis, the rate at which they're using it is actually starting to double if we look at from 2024 to 2025. So how do we respond to some of these concerns and, deploy AI that feels safe, smart, and is definitely, human-centered is one of the big things we want to, hit on. Well, let's start with transparency. Let's tell our employees, what AI is doing, what we want it to do, the intent for it. Let's take a look at the data that it's going to be using and how it's going to benefit them so we can build, a trust from the start. I do really like this quote here that says, "You're not going to lose your job to AI, but you're going to lose your job to someone who uses AI."
Yeah, and that's hope that's not the case, because in that article there, no AI, no job. So yeah, there's CEOs making mandates. Everybody should put in their goals for this year, use AI. Okay, boss, I've typed in my goals. I met with my manager and I'd use some AI. I wrote something using Copilot. Was it any good? I mean, they're threatening to withhold merit increases unless you use AI. Okay, well, let's make sure the person who's going to take my job from me uses AI better than me, because I'm just doing it to get my bonus. So that's the problem. We need guidance. We need to understand, where's the value? Why am I using AI? And how can I use it responsibly, not just to tick a box because it's been mandated that every single person needs to be using AI. So let's
Mhm.
do it cautiously and responsibly.
Yeah, it's the new cool thing.
So this is the cool thing. Workday has been touring the country with their Workday Illuminate bus tour. Perhaps you had the opportunity to check it out. A lot of groovy stuff that they were demonstrating. So let's figure out exactly what is being promised in Workday. The three big buckets, and for those of you who've seen this would be a bit of a rehash for those of you who didn't make it to these opportunities to learn from the experts on what they're doing. And the big areas are using generative AI, to accelerate tasks, assist, and transform. So those were really opportunities for you in the generative AIs for job postings or invoice processing, detecting fraudulent activity. And the Copilot, very similar, like in the olden days when Microsoft had Clippy, and it's somebody who just pops up and says, I see you're writing a letter, or can I help you with your resume? And what did I do? I clicked Clippy down because it was an annoyance. And where's Clippy now? It's in the He's gone. The paperclip is gone. So these co-pilots are working in the flow of work, not getting in the way, doing these annoying autocorrects. And the other thing that's happening is it's pulling information to help you find what you need at the moment when you're doing what's the expense policy on this, or what is the situation for our time off policy. So rather than popping over and looking for these things in a SharePoint site, you can have it right in the moment, have the assistant deliver the questions and guide you on in that. The next part is the agentic AI, and it says, we should be a bit frightened by its autonomously doing transactions. Not completely. There'll be some human intervention to review and make those choices, but it's doing analysis and pulling in complex tasks for you. Go ahead and click to the next slide. So in this particular area, it's showing a generative AI can write a job description in Workday, but then there's a button at the bottom that says modify with AI. So what it's doing is looking for information for you, adding additional details that you have already in your other job descriptions that are similar in this nature. So it's pulling either information together for you to facilitate working faster. Go ahead and click on the next opportunity here. And this is more like the Clippy. I'm in the middle of doing something. I need help with the spend category, and it can give me coaching. And the great thing about this is rather than me accidentally choosing the spend category in my expense report, not that this has ever happened, and it's hitting the wrong cost center because I don't really understand the codes. So by having this pop up in the middle, or having me not submitting my expense reporting and abandoning the task, we can have the assistant kind of guide and coach me in that moment and give me the right answer rather than me going and logging a ticket. I don't know this. Will somebody follow up and show me the expense policy so I can get the work done? So this is helping us have the work completed. It also can give you notifications on how work is progressing, like your requisition has been posted. And let's move to the last bit, which is the very exciting part, is the transform using agents. And go ahead and click this last part there. So you have three different personas. They're the recruiter and the worker and the manager. They all have different needs. Where are those moments that we can assist them and make decisions in sourcing and scheduling candidates for review? You may have a worker looking for job opportunities, or even a candidate looking in. Now, the question is, where are these skills that I need to advance my career? What type of career path can I have, and what's the next opportunity? Create some sort of a talent management activities for me to develop and grow within the organization. And the same thing with the manager. What are my team skills? And where do I need new skills, and either encourage and develop my team or hire talent and recruit and attract that talent? So all of those are opportunities where we can use AI. Now, just to have your eyes bleed just for a moment as you're looking at this giant chart of where AI is being planned throughout the the SKUs for HCM. Go ahead and click to the next one. Even more opportunities in finance. Go to the very next slide. Those are all areas that AI can be introduced in various uh, opportunities, be it generative or the agentic AI. Now, I've highlighted a few here from what is actually out there today in release one, and what's coming in the very near future, the rest of this year. And it tells you, which of those are forecasted for later in the year, and also which ones are in the generative box. The agentic is coming a little bit later, but there are already opportunities for, contract and agents for recruiting, payroll. And so that's basically what Workday is promising in their roadmap and what is available today. All right, now it's time to the survey.
The
Uh,
fun part.
yes. So we'll pop up in the screen here for you to click the QR code and answer about 8 questions. There are 2 questions regarding your strategy approach. Where are you using or planning to use AI? and go ahead and click the QR code and either on your laptop or your phone, answer the questions and we can talk about the results. There's also about 3 questions in there about your organizational readiness. How are you preparing and assessing your workforce's concerns or desires to use AI? And then lastly, where in your process analysis that you can insert AI from those many opportunities in the SKUs that I just ran through. So I'll be quiet for about 30 seconds and we can look at the results.
Yeah, please let us know if anybody's having trouble seeing those questions. And Michael, we actually did get a great question in the chat about there's a lot of resistance regarding AI. How do we change the perception that AI is a job threat? Which is, I think, one of the things that we're gonna talk about here after this AI readiness assessment. But thought it was a great question to kind of read from the chat.
All right, some of our answers are dribbling in. Let's look at where your organization is aware and eager. It's leading the path. That's great. I think I've had similar surveys about 2 years ago, and people were not as eager, but they know it can be used with some guardrails. And then the last bit is where in the processes are they looking for opportunities? So it looks like people are diving into, they're partially assessing where there are opportunities, and a few who don't know how to begin. All right, you can go ahead and continue taking the poll. We'll move on to how the Groove can help. And it was good. Thank you for participating in our questionnaire, because if your folks are all AI savvy and you've already identified opportunities, well, why are you here? That's great that you're already on the path to embracing AI, because they said it's here. So let's figure out how to do it. So let's go to the next slide. So the first part is, like we said earlier, what is the plan for AI? Is it aligning with your strategic goals 2 years and 3 years? Do you have a budget for it? Are these AI initiatives going to compete with what you're hoping to accomplish? And also, what's the sense of your data? Where are you going to get this information? So the rub there is, if you're going to use AI to do stuff faster and you're still getting bad information today, you're just going to get that same information faster today. So we don't want to use AI just to give us bad results and bad information to make these decisions. Go ahead and click to talk about some of the org readiness opportunities.
Right. Exactly. So some of the organizational considerations, and I think this kind of hits back to that question earlier about, people are a little concerned, how do we get them on board? And it also taking a look at some of the results from that survey. It sounds like a lot of people are just getting started, so this is hopefully hitting right at the exact right time. So before we really deploy any AI system, as Michael said, you need some strategic objectives, but from an org consideration perspective, we need to make sure that our teams are prepared to work alongside AI and what we're hoping that it does, right? We want to address questions early to help us identify potential barriers that your employees might have in their roles today, and ensure that AI is really aligning to those barriers and the organizational goals and values, and doing that, keeping the human centric approach at the core with the thoughtful AI deployment and design. What you're seeing here is a persona card, and it's really helpful again to map out and take a look at what do your stakeholders want? What direction do they want to move? What are their current needs, their pain points? And then you can start to really look at, what is the scope of our AI and how is it going to assist them in doing this? And we can show that as we start to deploy AI and through that whole journey.
Great. I mean, yes, it's amazing how many times we talk as change practitioners. Have you spoken to your people? What do they want? What are the pain points? What's the headaches? You know what the pain points are because you're seeing processing times or things being sent back for remediation correction. I'm excited because I put this in here, Visio flow, and people who know me know I love Visios. So to me, that's a nice start to go and examine how are we doing work today? Where are those bottlenecks? We've already identified the frustrations from the user's perspective, but let's look at where there's a touch points, where can we insert AI safely? It also measure that success. So yes, just like any sort of tweaks, your tenant renovations or getting half of those green boxes out of here so this process will go faster. But where are opportunities for it to be done on your behalf and for having you have governance and making that decision to approve and look at those results? So how do we know we're successful? And that's always the rub. We don't. We deployed AI, hooray.
Yeah.
Not good enough. Let's figure out, is it the cycle times? Is it the number of approvals that are slowing us down? How can we use AI to meet some of those metrics that we're hoping to accomplish? So that it can only be done by analyzing your current situation. What are you doing today? What are those metrics today? And what are those metrics tomorrow once you've deployed AI? Let's go ahead into the build
Yep.
here.
Yeah, exactly. And as as we focus on some of those meaningful experiences when we're ready to deploy AI, we want to start to identify some of those key touch points between the human workforce and AI. So you can see here, we want to map that out. Where are humans interacting? Where are they interacting with the system? What does the whole journey look like in different phases? And a key step in this whole process is to set yourself up so that you can measure your KPIs, your key performance indicators, and ask yourself and be able to answer the question at the end, is AI doing what we had hoped it would do? Is it really enhancing the experience? And has it really changed the behaviors of the people within our organization? For example, if AI is supposed to help us schedule interviews, or appointments or meetings, are we letting it? Are we using this tool so that we don't have to spend the time going through multiple calendars? AI is shooting out the times that we're all available so that that process is faster and we can really focus on some of the other areas. Or maybe are we still spending time doing that? Has that human behavior changed with AI deployment? So, in short, AI, as we've kind of explained, it is powerful, but it's not magic, right? And if we demystify it and we plan thoughtfully, and we bring our people really along for the journey, we can turn the fear of AI that might be surrounding it right now, or some of that resistance that we might see with AI into fuel for innovation and deeper connections within the workforce.
Yeah, it's very true. We can build any technology, but will the users use it? We hope so, but how can we create that appetite for that transformation and train them to use it confidently and meet those KPIs that we set out at the beginning of any project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our presentation. If we have a few questions, hopefully Chelsea can surface them to us, and we'll take a stab at them.
Yes, so please ask any questions in the Q&A and I will read them out loud and then Michael and Bree can get those addressed.
What was that one question you saw earlier, Bree, that we kind of said we'll talk about user adoption?
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, and I don't know where it went. Here it is. We have a lot of resistance regarding AI. How do we change the perception that AI is a job threat? I think we have another question here. So, how can we best measure process improvements, and when do we measure after implementing AI?
Okay, I'll take that one, but do you want to handle the one on the job threat and basically knowing your stakeholders' concerns?
Yep. So, I think, kind of like we showed in the presentation and at the end, you want to make sure that you are communicating what you are enhancing with AI, the areas in which you are hoping that AI is going to, pain points it's going to alleviate. Ask for that feedback and bring your people along through the journey. Communicate it early and often, and be open about it. Essentially, we are hoping that AI is taking care of this. This is the behavior, this is the area in which we're wanting to enhance, rather than this is what it is, and we're moving forward with it.
regarding process improvements, one, obviously you need to define where those things you want to change. And that's a good question about, when do you measure it? And that's also good because you're hoping to achieve some sort of efficiencies. Did you achieve that efficiency? Generally, 6 months and to a year is usually a time for things to settle. But there's some early low-hanging fruit metrics you can look at, like you have a service center. How many tickets did you have to transfer? How many people taking those calls to do end user support? What is your current number, your current flow? And then if you're using the Workday Assistant, and there you have knowledge articles right there at their fingertips. Are your workers self-solving? And that would be something you could probably do with, in the first couple of weeks to see. And you're going to have obviously some questions about, this is a new process. I don't understand it. You've changed things. So yeah, those are normal things. But yeah, generally, depending on building the number of items that you can assess to get some good data to understand, within a month, sometimes 6 months is a good time. And that gives you time to intervene, to look at, why are the numbers high? Why are we not meeting those targets? And figuring out, is the model correct in our AI? Or is our business process still broken? Are there certain things that we could look at to achieve those goals? So generally within 6 months to a year, and then just do some trend analysis to make sure, is AI delivering that value that we'd hoped?
Yep. Are people really adopting and moving to that changed behavior that we were hoping would happen with AI? Another interesting question that came in, Michael, that I think we can both talk about are, what are some lessons learned that we can share about implementing AI? I think that's a great question. And I think one of, I would say, for a lesson learned, a big one that I think is, we see people wanting to boil the ocean when it comes to AI. They want to do everything and they want to do it right now. And I would say start smaller, find those areas that are high impact, but are lower disruption. Figure out, strategically where you want to use it and then grow from there, rather than starting with everything all at once. Because it is the new shiny tool that's out there within the workforce.
Yeah, and there are, like somebody asked about agents, and those are evolving. I think the ones that are getting very close to being prime, or is the recruiting agent. How can we turn that on? And again, to turn that on, you're going to have to go to the innovation services agreement and agree to have these things turned on. And so you can have different roles facilitate and work with you, and do them in your tenants to see how they are assisting you, and if is this a feature that you want to put into it to aid your whole recruiting process. I think I saw a question in here. They're all coming in. Oh, other lessons learned. That was a good question that somebody asked. We actually posted a blog that I co-wrote with our data architect and one of our health services solution architects. And so check out the 4 common mistakes deploying AI. There's some good information and use cases in there. And the frightening statistic that leads in that article is 85% of AI initiatives are not successful. They don't reach those goals, and that's kind of troubling. So check that out. You can also, follow up with us and ask questions directly, which I think Chelsea would give you information on how to contact us here at the Groove to have further conversation.
Yeah. And I think one more question, Michael, this is, they've specifically called you out in your love of Visio processes. Do you have a best practice workflow diagram process that I can suggest for people to follow if we incorporate AI? And this is specifically talking about finance.
Yeah, I would look, hopefully you have something, and again, you may not have something, but we could sketch something out and then look at those AI opportunities and check to see, is it on, reconciliations? Is it generating contracts? Places like that we can, like I said, do this cautiously and create confidence that we're doing this correctly, and is our data correct before we insert it all throughout every opportunity through in your financial organization.
Okay, if
Awesome.
we Want to move to the next slide? So as Bree mentioned in the beginning of this is just part 1 of a part 4 series. So we will send you an email. Expect these webinars to take place 1 every month. So the next one is getting your organization AI ready. And then we'll also go into data readiness and AI governance. I know we weren't able to address all of these questions. So on the next slide, there is a QR code and you can reach out directly to us and we can help you get started on your AI journey if you have not started yet, and also answer any questions that you have. So thank you all for attending. We hope you found this session valuable. And once we end this, there will be a quick survey, if you don't mind taking, just to gauge how people liked it, what they want to hear more about in the next sessions, and any other thoughts they had. So thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye, everyone.